What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday this crazy video came out that we're going to go over because it comes out at a great time, by the way, with all of the Persona 5 rumors flying all over the place, where Sakurai actually visits, he visits Atlus's office. It was an interesting video. It was pretty funny and it was pretty cool to see. We're going to talk a bit about that and then I guess a few other things with Persona because the rumors and the backing for it just keep going. It's crazy. Then I also want to take a look at Zelda in Unreal Engine 4, as there's been a project going on for a while, and again, it just takes, I guess, just an older game that we've known before, like that Mario game we talked about, Mario 64, that was rebuilt. We talked about that yesterday, and brings it into Unreal Engine 4, and there's actually a download link to try it out. Kind of a tech demo, but still kind of neat to see. As always, guys, enjoy these videos, hit the like button. It does help out. We're going to start with some quick news. We're going to start with Epic. Epic Games, of course, creates Fortnite. They also provide Unreal Engine 4 for a lot of different developers, and for the most part, they've done pretty well with Fortnite, obviously. They've been able to even raise an entire store up and pull exclusives, I guess, to them, essentially, away from Steam even, with money, right? Money and promotion. And a lot of people have figured that's because of Fortnite. Well, TechCrunch actually put out a report yesterday that points to Epic Games profiting, not just making, profiting $3 billion, that's with a B, billion, $3 billion in profit for a company like Epic Games. That's not like one of the big three, for example, like Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo. That is an obscene amount of money for them to make as profit, because of course that also makes you wonder what their revenue, just their gross revenue was, but profit of $3 billion? Wow, yeah, maybe they can compete with Steam. Of course, they have their Epic Games store that they're working on and trying to get that kind of up to snuff and everything, and we'll see if they get it there. There have been some complaints about kind of how it's set up and how it's operating, but I mean, if they have the money and they can really spend the time building it, and then of course, the big thing is pulling in free agents essentially by buying them with either promotion or help to even maybe full-on develop some games. Yeah, they could actually make a run at Steam, and, well, they're not exactly short on cash to do it. Also, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is still in development. It was Kickstarter for a while ago, and it's still being worked on. Of course, it was pushing towards people who were fans of the Castlevania, for example, Symphony of the Night, and it looks really cool, but after demos keep coming out and people still aren't really sure, a lot of feedback's going back to them, but they did put out an update if you are a Mac or Linux user. Unfortunately, it's not going to be supporting your OS. You're going to have to figure something out there, whether it's Boot Camp Windows or just outright change over to it, or maybe switch over to like a console version or something. It looks like they had to put out an update saying they won't be doing any type of version for that, just simply citing just development with middleware and issues that they're having, so they're choosing just to drop them. I assume at that point, if you were going to be using that on PC with either Linux or Mac, you could still change it, I would assume, since, well, we're still waiting for it to even come out. And they did also mention that development has reached its peak, which I assume means that we're rolling towards a release date in 2019. I feel like the game has to come out in 2019 at this point because they keep pushing it back, so we'll see. But for now, you might want to change out from Mac or Linux and figure something out now before it comes right out. Also, the weekly Famitsu came out in Japan, and Game Freak talked a bit about their 2019, I guess their goals in general. A lot of the developers will do that, kind of talk about the new year coming up and what they plan to do. Game Freak is looking to push themselves and surprise people, which could be good. I mean, we know they're working on Town. I think that's mostly what they're referring to. Well, let's be honest, we kind of know what we're getting with Pokemon next year, right? The quote-unquote mainline hardcore RPG. We have an idea, but Town is weird and different and new. It's their own IP. It's something they've been working on, trying to get it right. And yeah, I mean, that's probably what it is. Or maybe the 2018 Pokemon game is another Pokemon Let's Go. Actually, you probably shouldn't even joke about that because, well, we saw what happened just when they even announced it, even though they told us the actual one's coming next year, almost this year in a few days. So I guess they're mostly talking about Town, but who knows? Maybe Pokemon 2019 gets shown off in the Gen 8 version, and maybe visually it looks really good. It's actually something they've really worked on. The online's good. Maybe they're looking to surprise us by building on top of what we know for the mainline hardcore RPG Pokemon game. Alright guys, quick news out of the way, let's get into bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with Sakurai, who's of course behind Smash Bros. And developing the DLC characters, visiting Atlus's offices, and it was a very fun video. It really was. People really liked it. Tons of likes, tons of retweets. Sakurai shows up. There's Morgana just kind of dancing around, and Sakurai goes up and gives Morgana this massive hug, but of course Morgana's head is like massive, so he basically just hugs Morgana's head. But it was a really funny video right in the beginning, and of course people screen capped that and posted all around of Sakurai hugging Morgana and saying Persona 5 confirmed, because he's hugging Morgana. It was just a really fun video. Now, a lot of people actually went through it, posted up what was said, and it just sounded like he just went there and they were able to post a video up of an interview where he mostly just talked about how he's excited to work on Joker, the DLC character. He has plenty of energy for it, and it's going to be good. So it's good to hear that he's really, really interested in doing it, because remember we heard that Nintendo, they chose the DLC characters, not necessarily Sakurai. It didn't go out and say, oh, I want this character, this character, this character. No, Nintendo apparently presented it to him, and he was just going to make it work. It seems that he was really excited when he heard about it being Joker as a DLC character from Persona 5. He's already talked about how he likes the PlayStation 4 in the past, and he's a fan of a lot of those type of games, the JRPGs, the obviously with Japanese influence and everything. He visits Kojima all the time, so it's pretty cool to see that he's excited about it. But of course, this comes out when the Persona 5 rumors are in full swing for a Switch version, or even just a remaster, like a new release, a re-release with new content. All these URLs are flying around, right? PSM, Persona M, Persona S, B, it's all over the place, and now they've even added security to the Persona 5 R URL. That's the one that looks like it's going to be live soonish, to be honest, from what we're seeing with all of the care and time going into that. So I don't really know what Persona 5 R is, but this visit from Sakurai to Atlus, that could have just been, of course, coincidence, and it's to coincide, obviously, with the Smash Bros. DLC with Joker, but it's an interesting time with all these rumors flying around and the URLs getting moved around and everything, and security added, just getting ready to go live. Interesting time to have Nintendo and Atlus basically show up in the same video and hugging and stuff, so interesting to see. I think if they're going to do anything with Persona 5, even if it's just another release on the PlayStation 4, in 2019, and it's just more levels and everything, it could still be a Switch version. I won't rule that out. I think that'll probably be revealed after the new year. While it looks like they're ready to do this tomorrow, I think a lot of these announcements generally wait. Remember, the Dragon Quest 11S is waiting till the first of the year, so I think a lot of people are still on vacation and everything, and they're spending time away for holidays. So I'd look in the first or even second week of January, and maybe that's when we see whatever Persona 5 are, whatever it is. Oh, also, I'm curious about one other thing, because of course they're selling like the Fighter Pass where you get all the different characters. Was Joker enough for you to go out and buy that Fighter Pass? Like, did that give you enough confidence to go out and now get it? Because people were insanely hyped for Joker, and I get it. That's a pretty cool character to have in Smash, but was that enough to sell you on it, or are you still just waiting to buy the Joker DLC because you already know you're getting it, and you're still going to hold out and see maybe what the second character is, just in case they really pushed hard in the beginning to get you to buy that pass and you're concerned about like a letdown character? Next up, we're going to stick with Atlus briefly, because they also had a bit of input in the weekly Famitsu that we already talked about a bit earlier in the show. And they talked a bit about one game in particular that I'm really looking forward to, another game that I'll probably check out, and then some unannounced titles. This is actually what they said in Famitsu. Starting with Catherine Full Body in February, we're also steadily preparing unannounced titles, or title, the Japanese language doesn't distinguish between singular and plural. Please expect a follow-up about Shin Megami Tensei 5. So yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is the one that I'm really looking forward to. Remember, we heard about this thing when they first showed us the Switch. That was like a little teaser trailer they put out. Then we saw a bit more down the road, but we haven't really seen any real gameplay or any idea about the mechanics that they're going with in the game, if they're adding anything new and what they're changing up, even what the story is at all. It's definitely a mystery right now, but I do think that's actually coming out in 2019. I think that's their release window, somewhere in there. If I had to give it like I guess a time during the year, maybe after summer, probably maybe in like the fall, I could see that. I don't know if it's a summer release. I definitely don't think it's a first half of the year release, so I'm looking forward to it because, I mean, Shin Megami Tensei is awesome, and now, of course, they're going to the Switch with it, so they'll have a bit more freedom than something like, I don't know, on the 3DS, for example. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think it's going to be really cool. And now they're saying new unannounced title or titles. Could they be talking about, again, Persona 5R, or could they be talking about something brand new they have up their sleeves? I mean, of course, Atlus, has some cool IPs that they could play around with, and we'll see. I always talk about how I really liked Digital Devil Saga from back in the day, and I don't know if they'll ever touch on that again, but that was a cool series, and yeah, I'd like to see that come back because it seems like a lot of people are getting kind of into the mature rated JRPGs. Of course, we just saw it with Persona 5 do really well. Obviously, for a game like that, mature rated over 2 million copies or so. Yeah, let's do something with Digital Devil Saga. That would just be fun to bring back and play around with and see what they can do now in like 2019 or 2020. Next up, let's talk about Zelda Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine 4. This has been a project that's been on for a while now, but we keep getting more and more updates on it. They keep working on it. It's a fan project. It's just playing around with a game that they really liked, I guess, back on the Nintendo 64, and of course on the 3DS and other systems, even the GameCube. I guess they're looking into it and they're just playing around with it, and it's a fun project, but it keeps getting better and better, and they keep working on more environments and different parts of the game. So here is just, I guess, some gameplay of it that I've heard. Like I said, I've seen it before, but now they've worked out far enough to have the Great Deku Tree actually done. So like the first temple you can kind of walk in and check out, the Temple of Time, the village and the forest that you start in. Just overall, it's pretty cool to see. Now, there's not like a full story set up yet. Like, you can't really play through the game. It's more a tech demo currently, and it's being done by CryZenX. And apparently, they're looking to just keep working on it. Now, it's an interesting situation because, of course, they're using Nintendo's IPs, and we see what happens with Nintendo, but this project's been going on for a little while now, and nothing yet. I don't really know why not. I don't really know what the deal is there, but maybe if it hasn't been touched yet, they'll leave it alone still. It's interesting to see. They don't really touch a lot of these Unreal Engine 4 projects or these fan projects where they kind of just work on it for fun. Sometimes they do, obviously. Like, remember, what was it? There was a Metroid ROM hack that was being worked on, and they turned it into a full game. And that got shut down ahead of the Samus Returns game that came back on the 3DS. And that made sense. So, hey, maybe if something happens with Ocarina of Time here, this one, maybe that means that another Ocarina of Time is showing up or some sort of remake. Either way, it is free to download. You can actually check it out yourself on your computer. If you have a decent video card, you can play through it and see, I guess, what Ocarina of Time could look like in Unreal Engine 4, which is actually supported on the Switch. And our last bit of news, let's talk about a way to wirelessly charge your Joy-Con controllers for your Switch. I know it sounds weird, but a company is actually trying to make that possible. And they're going to talk a bit more about it at CES 2019, which starts January 8th. But they did put out a teaser video for it to kind of explain what they're trying to do. And yeah, it's kind of interesting. They are working to actually be able to charge your Joy-Con while it is completely separated from the dock or your Switch. And you're going to see the video here. It's kind of neat. It actually works off of RF signals, but you need a transmitter, and when it is actually getting power, it needs to be about 2 feet from the base. But each grip already has another battery installed in it, and of course it is a grip, so it makes it easier to hold the Joy-Con when it's in single Joy-Con play. And according to them, the battery in that grip, along with the battery in your Joy-Con controller, is enough to last 38 hours, which the one thing I've noticed, and I get what they're trying to do here, but I don't know if the Joy-Con is the correct thing for it, because Joy-Con controllers, they actually last a while. Like, I've never really had an issue with my Joy-Con controller dying necessarily, because that means I've been playing for like, what, 15 to 20 hours then or something. I don't know. I've never really run into that issue. A grip makes sense because, of course, it can be tough to hold the Joy-Con controller sideways. That's why you have those grips out there, but they're just plastic shells. I've just never run into an issue with my Joy-Con. It's a neat idea, but like, I think it would go over better with the PlayStation 4 controller, for example, but seems to die definitely quicker than the other two being the Xbox One controller and then the Switch Joy-Cons, or even the Pro controller, which the Switch Pro controller's battery is ridiculous. But I don't know if the Joy-Con controllers are the best, I guess, subject for it. But either way, it's kind of neat. Again, it has to be about 2 feet away, but I think the idea is that when you're done playing, you'll just kind of set them near it and it'll just charge it for you. Or I guess you could have the transmitter box near you and just hold the Joy-Con there. I guess if you're on the couch, you have a little table thing over here, or like side table, you can just set it there. But interesting nonetheless to see technology. Wireless charging isn't like new. We've actually been talking about it for years now on a consumer level where you can buy it technically. But again, seeing them kind of bring it into like I guess just the Switch environment is cool to see. But I do think something like a PS4 controller would actually benefit from it more with a bigger battery attached to it, and then the ability to just kind of put it down on the table and let it charge when you walk away. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It does help out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Zelda in Unreal Engine 4. What do you think? Do you think it looks cool, or do you think it's kind of weird looking? Let me know. I've seen opinions either way on it. I think it's just cool to see fans' interpretations of Zelda bring it up into Unreal Engine 4. Then, of course, what about all of this Atlus and Nintendo talk? Now we see Sakurai visiting Atlus's offices. What do you think about all of this? I mean, either way, we at least got Sakurai hugging a giant Morgana head. So, you know, that's something. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.